most coaches think their ads fail because of the targeting or it's the creative or their budget. It's almost never that. After spending $8 million in ad spend, I can tell you exactly what goes wrong, and most of it happens before the campaign even starts. Let's get to it. Okay, so there are essentially there's three big mistakes that coaches make, and then I'm going to cover a couple of mistakes that I made, because I think what happens a lot of times is agencies will they blame the coach, right? They never blame themselves, and I don't know why, because I've been doing this for 20 years and I can tell you that I make mistakes. Now, I am on the plus side of the 80-20 rule, but that doesn't mean that I don't make mistakes. And when I do, I like to call them out as quickly as possible. Plus, if you happen to have an agency, this might help you talk to them a little better and not take the blame yourself, because I know a lot of coaches that blame themselves when it's really not them at all. Okay, so one of the first things that coaches do is, and this just makes me crazy, they change what's working. So they find something that works and they're making money at it, and then they want to change it, right? And not just a little change, but they might want to change the whole thing. So just to give you an example, I have a client recently who signed 22 high ticket clients from a masterclass. 22. Now, most people would be elated at that, and the first thing that would come to mind is, hey, let's do that again, right? Let's do the masterclass again. But what she said instead was, well, I set up a different one for this other thing. And I said, why? Like, why would you want to do something else if this is what just brought you in 22 clients? I really didn't understand that. And I think that's what happens for a lot of coaches who get really successful, is they're freaking out thinking that lightning struck and maybe they can't make it strike again, or I don't know, they just want to ride that, or they think they need to change it up because their audience is getting tired. Let me tell you something. Your audience, they are not getting tired of what you're talking about. You're not going to be able to get in front of enough people to make them tired. So really, you can just put that to rest and just continue on and continue with something that works. Because when something works, your only job is to scale it, not like reinvent it. And so that's a very, very frustrating thing. And sometimes it's hard to convince some clients that that's what's going on. It's kind of funny that way. And then we all have our own issues, but that's just one of them. So now the second thing that coaches tend to do is they don't know their numbers. Like, they can't even tell me their cost per lead or their close rate, or even their 12-month client value or lifetime value. And the fact is you just can't make smart decisions without knowing your numbers, period. That's it. You have to know your numbers. You have to know what you're doing in your business right now and what you can expect to do in the future based on those numbers, because that's all you have. Everything anybody's telling you about marketing is just a projection. Nobody knows that's what's going to happen. That's just what they're basing on what happened before. But that is your best evidence that the next thing is going to do, the numbers that you're looking for. Number three is about having the wrong expectations. And a lot of coaches fall into this. They, have this thing of, well, I saw such and such, they spent $1,000 and made $1 million or something like that. And that's just not really what happens in the real world. So you're not going to fill your program up with $500 budget. So what does that mean? Especially if you don't have the budget. Well, it's tricky. It means that, yes, you need to run ads at some point, but if you don't have the money, like, you cannot spend grocery money on ads. Whatever you do not do that. You need to work on your organic and make your organic game unstoppable. I have clients who built mid six-figure businesses just off organic, just off a hustle. And I'm not a huge fan of hustle. I'm a huge fan of leverage. So it doesn't mean you need to get mid six figures, but you do need to get to a point where you are going to allocate a budget. So the other thing to kind of note is ads are really a system. They reward patience, and most people just don't, give them enough of it. They, say things don't work too fast. They say their ad's not working. They say their funnel's not working, whatever it is. And that's because, again, they don't wait long enough to see if it's going to work. They don't give it enough time. Or worse, they talk to their friends or other people, coaches, and those coaches are saying, oh no, it should be doing this or that and the other thing, when they don't really know. So you have to be careful with the advice that you're getting, because nobody knows it all in every niche. And you have to make sure that you're talking to people who do know your niche well enough. And sometimes that's hard to find. And plus, you kind of have to use your own common sense. And just one other thing that I want to say about that is, do not rely on AI. AI is maybe the worst thing that you can use to evaluate your ads. The simple reason is it doesn't understand coaching businesses and what ads should look like. It's going to spit out stuff based on e-com. Just like the Meta platform. The Meta platform is built mostly for high budgets and or e-com. That's it. So if you don't have if you're not either of those things, then most of the stuff, most of the tools in there are not going to be beneficial to you. It's the same way with AI. It does not understand your business. I mean, and I don't mean this in any real negative way, but just the next time you get a chance, ask ChatGPT how many R's are in strawberry, and then come back and tell me if you want it evaluating your business. Writing copy and stuff, that's a different conversation. But for evaluating your business, doing your business plan, I mean, it's okay to get an outline, but you better put in the work. Now, let's get to a couple of other things. These are actually mistakes that I make and have made. And one of them is not pushing back enough on the client. And what I mean is when a client wants to blow up a funnel that's working, like what I was talking about earlier, it's my job to stop them. It's my job to reel them back in and say, hey, wait a minute. And usually I do that. However, there have been times when I let them run. I'm like, okay, you want to change it? Great. Let's just change it. Let's go. And that's what we do, knowing that that wasn't the right thing to do, knowing that I should have stopped them. And that's just frustrating for the client, and it's frustrating for me because it doesn't work. And frankly, that's on me. I let the client down in that respect. Here's a big mistake number 2 that I've made. So early on, sometimes I would let clients make expensive decisions that I knew were wrong. Like I would make changes way too early. I would tweak the ads because I was panicking, maybe because the client didn't, we weren't getting the results that we thought, instead of being methodical about it. So I'd make changes and I would tweak them before the data was ready, just because of that. And what that does is that resets the learning phase for Meta. It resets it every time, and it costs us money. It rarely fixes it. And so now, and I've for many years, we follow strict rules on what we're going to do. Do I still make this mistake sometimes? Yeah, I have, but not usually. Now, I will say that a couple of times when I did this when I probably shouldn't have, it did work out, but that doesn't mean it usually does. The odds are against it. So the real fix is me setting expectations for the client much better. And when you hire an agency, whether it's me or somebody else, when you hire one, you need a partner. You don't need somebody, the ads guy. If you're hiring the ads guy, then you don't have a partnership there, and it's going to be tough to make your ads work. In fact, I don't know anybody that ever has. So maybe there are some people, but I just don't see that. So anyway, these mistakes really, though, they cost my clients and me really a lot of money, but they don't have to. And now they don't have to cost you anything because you know what they are. Because every single one of these, they're fixable. Know your numbers. Don't touch what's working. Set real expectations before the campaigns start. And if you're working, with someone like me, make them earn their opinion when they push back. Got to do that. So the point isn't that ads are hard. The point is that most of the damage happens before the ads ever even run. If you want to see exactly how we set up a campaign the right way, from offer to audience to what we measure in week 1, I put the full blueprint in this video right here. That's your next step.